Hi, I've been so lucky to talk to some of the healers and clinicians and practitioners in the Bay Area and New England on this podcast series of different ways of healing. And I got to talk recently to Jules Dirsa, who is an acupuncturist and a Reiki master in Beverly, Mass. I've been really fortunate with the Bay Area and New England to find some interesting people. The start of our interview was the background that they were in was their family. It was like a mural, but it looked like old-fashioned wallpaper, and it was their family's property. And I could really feel the sense of depth in the um, influence of the family on them, just like the influence of the depth of being a part of something, of land, of some place that has gone from generation to generation. It was quite a great way to start the conversation. And we talked about the nervous system and how they start their healing off being um, a centering of helping the person find their inner healer, find the place where I liked this saying of where you are with the person that makes you feel like you can be the most you can be of yourself, the most comfortable you can be with yourself. And what a great thought is if you could always act as if you were being the most comfortable as you ever are with whoever is your most comfortable, loving person. I always feel like that's just a concept of self acceptance. Like if you are just in that place where you're accepting, loving yourself, healing can easily or more easily happen. Like you can really connect to the parts of you that are positive, healing, loved, connected to the earth, connected to other energies all around you. So we talked a lot about the nervous system and how thrown off the nervous system of most of their clients have been in this time of so much stimulation in the world. So many hard things happening to people, and the difference between the sympathetic aspect of the nervous system, where one person might be in fight or flight, and the shift and how you can shift into the parasympathetic, where you might have the picture of being in your parasympathetic part of your nervous system, like deep in the forest, sitting under a tree, just breathing, where you might have the sympathetic nervous system being like overstimulated in a traffic jam with the radio going on and being texted the whole time, and how to shift into that from time to time. There was a lot of conversation about how we heal ourselves and how we connect to people who help us figure out how to do that. So it's not everybody that can make you feel that connection, and that connection is really built on you feeling comfortable. So think about that whenever you're looking for someone to work with you. Like, are you really able to be yourself with that person and feel comfortable with them? And if you're not, maybe that's something that you work on just overtly with them. But this conversation was one of the wonderful insights that I got to have during my time here on the East Coast and during this podcast. So I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Jules. It's so good to be talking to you on screen. I just think that's such a gift to be able to have this conversation. And one of the things that made me want to seek you out was just the way that you set up a healing space with people and how you did it with me. And I wondered if you could start us off with like creating a healing space, because sometimes people don't know what that means or what that looks like. And I think this will be a healing conversation.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so maybe we can start that way.
yeah. That sounds great. It's great to be here with you too. Thanks for inviting me. So I think the first thing would just kind of be to find yourself like comfortable in your chair. Um, I'm gonna close my eyes so I can
Hmm. I'll do the same.
feel this too. Just kind of like, yeah, feel that you're just here in a body. Um, just feel yourself here, present, and let your kind of molecules catch up to you. And have a few good deep breaths in and just noticing whatever you notice without having to name it or change it or judge it. And then like just kind of feeling if you can make yourself like 1 or 2% more comfortable. Feeling where the points of contact with your body's resting on the chair. Feel that support. And then just kind of invite yourself to think of a time or place or people that you're with, or just like a feeling or sense of yourself when you feel like the most like your authentic self, the most seen or the most loved, supported, or encouraged. And like once you have that memory or feeling or wish for it, just hold on to that and notice how that feels in your body to feel that. And just kind of be like, stay anchored in this place and know that we're here to support your healing and everything in your highest and best interest. And then I usually say, like, when you have an internal sense that you feel ready to like start whatever we're doing session, to like let me know or just open your eyes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was thinking, but my visual was like, since this is pre-holidays, that I was like, putting on the brakes and just like getting here because there's
Yeah.
so much going on and so much busyness. But it reminded me of like, oh yes, like just remember being intentional to show up wherever you show up. And
Yeah.
it's a great way to start a conversation. Um, I love when people start conversations with me, like, who aren't people who are coming to see me to talk to me about something, which is like, hey, what do you want to talk about? Like that, like, let's really think about what we want to talk about with each other that's going to be helpful. So maybe that's like the intention that I'm setting, like, for our time together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think it's like so important just to like, I don't know, I feel like we override our nervous systems so much to like do things we know we need to do. So it's just like, I don't know, good just to slow down for those moments and like at least find some kind of internal resourcing before you step forward into the Thanksgiving family chat or whatever it is you're
mhm.
healing or
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's also that other thought about, I like really like that thought of who do you feel like you can be your most authentic self with, and that
Mhm.
idea about, and don't worry about your cat. My cat will probably jump up here in a second too. Um, but it's nice to see that little black swishing tail behind you. Um, but that thought of like, who do we feel like we can be our most authentic selves, and like, can we show up like that to the spaces where we just want to be ourselves, like, especially if we're going into a healing session, whether it's therapy or acupuncture or Reiki work, which I want to hear how you describe that, like
Yeah.
showing up being like ourselves, like just let our guard down. And that maybe that is like not having your nervous system overridden.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that like maybe just getting into that place in touch with our whatever that is, like our true selves or whatever you want to call it, that's I think that's like where a lot of the healing, self-healing kind of takes place. Like we can kind of get out of our own ways, um, and out of our own stories or whatever it is, just like find our way back there. I think that's like key. So like, yeah, starting out,
Mhm.
at least to trying to start out there is good practice, I think.
Yeah, one of the people I was talking to recently in this podcast series was talking to me about everyone has their inner healer. But
Hmm.
people don't know it sometimes, and then once you know it is like how you access it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have something to say about that? Like how you access or how you know that you have your inner healer and how you access it? I think it's a really important concept.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like a trusting that you do, and then like doing whatever you can, um like for myself, like I mean, I yeah, it's been like a journey of like doing just self healing, all the things, like just healing from trauma, like in all the ways that you can, like, energy work, therapy, um, just being by the ocean, whatever the things that like can kind of just get me back to, yeah, like shedding off some of these layers, and then just in where you can like really get in touch, like just feeling, I don't know, feeling that like subtle energy within. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I mean, I think people do it in a lot of different ways, but just first of all, just like trusting that it's there. Like our bodies have this innate wisdom to do its own healing. Like our nervous system has its own like natural rhythm that it, I think, wants to come back to, is like we give it a chance. um yeah, just think just like kind of slowing down as much as we can, trying to like stop the stories, stop the internal stories, and letting like things just unfold. Yeah.
Right. So like if you were in with the person and maybe that person could be a part of yourself, being the most authentic part of yourself you could be, what would the conversation be like? You know what I mean? Instead of the
Yeah.
stories that we tell ourselves or the negativity that we like bump into a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's like, yeah, I think it's, yeah, just like a little bit of mindfulness of like what is, yeah, that there is a story, or and then like, trying to like press pause on it, whatever, however way you can, just, I think is like huge. But to
Yeah.
get there is its own thing, right?
hmm Yeah, I mean, I think about going to acupuncture or even when I go to healing modalities like massage, or I'm like, okay, just, give me that feeling I want, I want
Yeah.
that to come from the other person. And I actually, until you really, part of I went to you for acupuncture and that's how I met you. And
Mm.
part of that was a um, really intense wake up for me. Like, oh, wait a second, let's set the frame first. Then I could go into the acupuncture session in my most healing space. What a difference that is. That means I'm actively here, not just like, okay, I want to receive a healing from you. It's like I'm a part of that healing. I'm putting myself in a space of like being receptive, but also active at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was a
Yeah.
real different setup for me because I feel like
Yeah.
there is this mindset like get the prescription, take the aspirin, take your supplements, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's going to help you. But there is that story that comes with not feeling well or feeling like you need to go get some centering, right? There's a story like, oh, I'm whatever, work too hard, too busy, but in a headache cycle, whatever it might be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, yeah, I think that's like all of it. I've been doing work with, and studying with someone named Elaine Duncan. She wrote a book about like trauma healing, and it's called The Tao of Trauma. And it's kind of based on a lot of these, like Peter Levine's work, and like the phases of the self-protective cycle, and she saw those as like, kind of, she saw them in like parallel with like five elements in Chinese medicine, and so kind of, com sort of combine them in her mind, and like polyvagal theory, things like that. But so much of it is just like, um yeah, just kind of allowing like our bodies to truly consent to what we're doing too. Like that's part of why, um I learned that from her, to like, that sort of like guidance at the beginning, just to like slow down, and allow people to like truly consent, like to what they're about to receive, just like not just with their words, but like their nervous system to like to be right there too. Because like sometimes people come in, want to get acupuncture, want to do some healing, and they're like kind of in a rush about it, or trying to force themselves into it. They might be nervous, or and then if they're like it if yeah, there's like maybe like too much activation in the system to receive any kind of like healing in a meaningful way. They might like it might make them more tense, or like more pain, or whatever, so that's part of why I start that out that way, and like get someone into a place of receiving. And then in I think that you like even brought it to my attention. It's like connecting with your inner healer. It's just
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that, like, just thinking about it, like when people come into your space and your acupuncture office and they're really agitated, like you're like, okay, well, we have two layers to work with. Like I have the agitation layer, and then I have what they're really coming here for. And
Right,
so, like, if you can't figure out how to help them with that first layer, they can't get the second
right,
that they're coming for, right? So that's it's interesting because as you know, when you see a lot of people after a while, you pick up their energy right away. You know that they might be struggling with something like depression or anxiety, or they just, feel really upset about something in their life. And so they're coming in with that too, as like
mhm,
maybe that's like the five elements, kind of like how there's like the five chakra layers, like the aura layers, I wonder if sometimes it's like just noticing what's there before you can get into the actual system that you're trying to, work on.
yeah, 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 yeah. I
Like
think
the organ system and things like that.
yeah, it's true. I mean, I think just being like, yeah, like the more awareness you have about these different things, I think it's like, yeah, you can just kind of better nuance the situation, and just kind of be there.
So when you have a client who comes in and you're like, okay, I'm giving them an acupuncture treatment, but they tell you, oh, that made me feel worse
Hmm.
because maybe it agitated all of their symptoms because they were agitated.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
what would you do? Like, is there another tool that you would give them? Is there a way that you would talk with them?
Yeah. I mean, I think probably, well, yeah, I think of like maybe doing something else, like if the needles are like too intense for them, if that's something that they're really having to like override their nervous system to do,
Mm.
like doing mm, probably some of the like somatic experiencing type of techniques that I learned studying with Elaine, just to like address, you can, or like using, something else like there's other tools even within Chinese medicine, um, like
Yeah,
cupping.
like you were going to say cupping.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
cupping or moxa, or like
mhm.
tuina, or energy work, something like I really love doing energy work, or combining it with acupuncture, and
So
yeah.
talk about like one somatic experiencing exercise that you do that's a pretty common one that you might find yourself doing if you feel like the person's not really receptive to you, to the needle.
Yeah, to the needles. I would start out with like that, like how we started this session, and
Mhm.
then there's uh there's something called the kidney adrenal hold, which is used a lot for just kind of good resourcing in the body. So just kind of like bringing, kind of getting them to that kind of resource state like we did at the beginning, and then just kind of either with my touch, or just intention, or not attention, just like having them focus around their like kidneys and adrenal, and then seeing like,
Or kind of their lower back area.
yeah, yeah,
And you
and
would just
just,
have them focus and imagine that like there's warm energy flowing right there or like
yeah,
that. Mhm.
yeah, and just like notice being curious and open to like noticing what comes up in their body and
Mhm.
or sensations or but mostly not thoughts, just like more like the felt sense.
Yeah, so like when you make someone notice or have a sensation, like a visual noticing of their body or that part of their body, how come that's so powerful? Like, how would you describe why
Um,
it's so powerful? Because I know it is, but
yeah,
it's like all in our minds, right? The imagery, the visualization, the drawing your energy to a space in your body.
yeah. Yeah, I think I think like where um yeah, I think it brings like that like there's like a few ways to say it, but I think it brings like healing attention to a particular area, say, but also there's the like it takes us out of the thought process, out of that like kind of sympathetic dominant state where where it's like, you know, and more in this
So describe sympathetic. So I guess I want you to tell us because people might not know what that means. So sympathetic
Sure.
dominant state versus like parasympathetic receptive state. Is that what you're going to say? Is that the other?
Yeah, just like
Okay.
yeah, we're feeling like maybe more activated in our like nervous system, like or tense or anxious or
So that's the
um,
sympathetic.
yeah. And then like more in the parasympathetic would be like just yeah, more relaxed. It's like the rest and digest or rest and restore kind of a state.
Right.
Um,
So out of fight or flight and into just relaxation and
yeah,
reset.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And yeah, so just like yeah, I think the term is like interoception, where you're like paying attention to like internal cues instead of like neuroception, where we're like kind of paying attention with our thoughts um and just like sort of in talking about like traumatic stress response, like if when we're like trying to sense danger, a lot of it is like from neuroceptive point of view, and we're just like outward thoughts. So like sort of it's a little bit of an antidote to that, to like just go internal and just really have like a felt sense without um just being maintaining like curiosity about it.
Right. Right. And then you talked about like you might just do energy work. So describe what energy work is and how some of the ways you do it.
Yeah,
And apologies, I just have to find my cord after all that.
that,
So I'm going
I
to just
mean,
put myself off video to get that, okay?
sure,
But I'm
sure.
listening.
Okay, cool. Yeah, energy work. I mean, a lot of it is a mystery. I think that it's hard to, for me at least, to fully explain what's happening, but from what I understand, it's like the human like energetic field is like very receptive to like transmitting energy and receiving energy. Um, and I think, just as a practitioner, I've studied um, Reiki, another type of energy work called Milagros energy work, and also like another one that's called Old Ways. So
So you're going to have to break each of those down.
yeah, I'll do my best.
Okay.
Um, I think the main thing is like, like Reiki, you get like an attunement and you study with someone how to do it. And when you get attuned, you're like just able to do it. You're just kind of um like a clear channel for this cosmic energy, this universal positive healing energy. Um
So
and
you're giving that to people or you're helping them move their energy around?
um
Oh,
mostly like just yeah, like sort of just transmitting it, and then it has like its own, in my understanding and experience, it has its own like harmonizing effect. So like whatever needs to, if something needs to be moved, it moves it. And if something needs to be like supported, it's like supportive. So it seems to me that it's like kind of its own harmonizing effect.
Hmm.
And then
Okay. And so when you're doing that with the like needles,
yeah,
the acupuncture needles, like you're working with like the blocks of the energy blocks, and because we all know when our energy is blocked, like let's say we can't think about something, like we're so preoccupied about something, we really like, oh, we forget our keys, and we feel so upset, but we don't know why. And like moving that kind of energy around, like sometimes if you take a walk, you're like, oh, well, I sort of worked all that stuff out of my head because I took a walk.
yeah,
So that's, I mean, that's kind of a simple way of talking about stuck energy, but
yep,
that's sort of
yep.
what Reiki might do. Reiki might do is like push the energy through blocked parts of the body.
Yeah, if it needs to be moved, yeah, or something needs to be cleared, I think it has a effect of doing that. And if something maybe is a little more um deficient is it feels like a negative way to say it, but like if something needs, more nourishing aspect to it, then it brings that as well. So I think it's a little bit of both. But yeah, I think there's ways that people do that, like you said, like on their own. And this feels like it's just kind of a more intensive, like intentional way to do that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but I like the combination with the acupuncture because I think like that, I don't know, just having like the layers of like the acupuncture is definitely like an energetic medicine as well, but it's also physical medicine because we're, physically interacting with the body. Um, and so it's just kind of, to me, it's like kind of layering these different um, modalities to just try to support people as much as
What was the
possible.
other two energies works that you said that you did?
One of them was is the my Reiki teacher is like something that she developed with I don't know if she channeled it or developed it. It's called Old Ways, and it's their own system. And we kind of with Reiki learn like this, like some symbols. And Old Ways has its own like set of symbols that I learned. And then I studied with someone who taught me, it was her family's lineage of energy work. She was like a fourth or fifth generation healer, and it's called Milagros energy work. And it's a little bit different, like from Reiki, but similar. But it's kind of more like you're drawing on like earth energy, like cosmic energy, and like sort of like a universal kind of love energy.
Hmm.
Kind of combining those, and then like transmitting those all together.
Why are those energies important in healing, you think, the ones you just talked? Because they're kind of powerful words that you just said, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they just, I mean, the Earth is just this magnificent planet that we get to be on, and I think like, just like has powerful grounding and healing vibration, and just like bringing that in, I think really resonates, and just we should be in resonance, as much as possible, I think,
Yeah, I'm
since
looking at the
we're
picture
living
behind
here.
you and just thinking about like what a beautiful scene and what
Yeah,
energy must be there in that spot. I don't know if it's like a place that mimics a place that you're living around, but
yeah, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, just yeah, you know, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the mural now. It's like, yeah, this is my like family home. My parents were really into murals, but it does like,
This is your family home. That's interesting because that space looks like such amazing energy comes from there,
oh,
just
cool.
walking under that tree or looking at the sunset, on the water. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just amazing, really. And
nice.
to say know that that's a family mural of your family's land, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's cool.
Hmm. So,
Um, yeah,
so earth energy is like really getting, reminding or taking the energy from the earth and using that as a healing element or
yeah,
force. Mhm.
yeah. And then like, just sort of this cosmic universal energy, I think similarly, like, we're it's all around us. It's kind of similar to that like Reiki energy. It's just like, I don't know how better to describe it. But and then love, of course, is like just I think this most powerful healing potential of any, of all of it. I think that's so the combination is very powerful.
Mm.
And it actually like it has that one tends to actually have, in my experience, a little bit more of like the moving, removing block, a little bit more powerful in my experience of like removing blockages, removing like just kind of just really getting in there and just
Mhm.
yeah, cleansing.
So why did you choose acupuncture as one of the modalities to do your healing, like as a healer?
Yeah. Well, I was introduced to it at like a young age. Like I was not, I think 19 or 20. Um, and I actually like kind of have like a needle phobia, or like a strong vasovagal response. I faint from like blood draws and things like that. So is my girlfriend at the time, her mom like only used um like alternative medicine and traditional medicines. And they introduced me to, oh, we got a dark barking dog thing,
That's
to
okay.
acupuncture, and their acupuncturist was really great. She knew I was really nervous, and she let me kind of watch them get acupuncturists till, and I was like, "Are you guys okay? That doesn't hurt." And they were like, "No, no, we're good. It feels really good and super gentle." And so like, she let me kind of get comfortable enough. So then I was like, okay, I want to get some treatments. And I just had like it just felt really powerful and profound to me. Like we're able to work on so many things like emotional, physical, spiritual stuff. And like at that age, it just was, it felt really powerful, and transformative. And I stayed curious about it. And I would ask her what she was working on. She'd tell me about it, the theory, and then she'd give me things to read later, like tell me, just go read this book or that book, and then we could talk about it a little bit more. And then yeah, I just ended up staying curious enough that I wanted to study it like formally. So
Mhm.
it's kind of,
Great. And so, do you have a particular type of person that you like to heal, like to work on?
I mean, all different, like not necessarily like, no, I'm always surprised by like, I never could pick out the people that I resonate the most with, like out
Mm.
of a lineup, but I just love, meeting different people. And, um, if people are open to working with energy work, or like, open to like having like making like change, or not in total resistance to it, that's the best. But I think it mostly depends on like resonance. I think like how, if people resonate with me, if I'm resonating with them. And
Mhm. Because that's what we're talking about too, is the healing connection, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's like there's
yeah,
got to be a match in a way, like that there's an
yeah,
energy match in some ways. Like, oh, I trust, like the way that you trusted that person to help you through a needlephobia. Like, oh, you trusted her to kind of be there, be how you needed her to be, so you could get through it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you were good.
yeah,
It's kind of like
yeah,
if you feel that comfortable with the person that's healing you, that's part of the healing connection right there.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah. And I think like two people could probably do the same treatment and maybe like, not have the same effects. Like one might be like no effect, or maybe even negative, and one might be just like home run, and you feel like amazing, and I think that I'm coming to understand is like so much about that resonance. Yeah.
Right. Would you describe yourself as a healer?
Yeah, I guess I do. Will now, it always feels like a little bit much to say, but like
Yeah.
I guess it's the what I chose and yeah, what I'm doing. So yeah.
But you
Um
feel like it's too much, a lot to say, like it's a pompous thing to say, like I'm a healer.
kind of.
Yeah.
A little
I
bit.
think so too. I think so too. But then I think, well, what is it? Like, if
Yeah,
you're doing this energy exchange and you are really honing in and you're being super sensitive and you're kind of like holding the space and the positivity to like,
yeah,
come on. You can heal, you can do your most healing work with me because I'm in alignment with you. I'm in
yeah,
the resonance between us.
yeah,
As
yeah.
opposed to like, um, I remember one time someone was supposed to do a root canal on me, and I was like, oh no, 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 that person, I can tell they're going to cause me a great deal of pain. I just feel like they're not gentle. So I just like still had that little, dental thing on, and I just like left.
You did?
Yeah, I
Whoa.
just was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I just was like, no way, that's not gonna work. But then yet, because if you're in pain and you have to have someone help you, it's like really very vulnerable state, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
I found someone else who was like, okay, okay, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm right here. I know how to help you through this pain or
yeah,
this time,
yeah,
it's so important to feel. And that's what I feel like is an important message, is to really think about the connection you have with whoever the person is that you're trying to
yeah,
get healing from.
yeah.
Is like you got to have that connection. It can't be that you already feel like on edge with them or
Yes, yeah,
nervous around them. It's not going to work. It's like that consent, like you said, like,
yeah,
are you ready to be in your healing space with me? Yes, I am. Right? I am, because I can do it myself and I can do it around you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love the way you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the ways that you've changed since you started doing acupuncture?
Oh
Like in
man.
terms of like your own tools or your own like healing practices or
Yeah. Well, it's been a while. So like I've been practicing for I think it's 15 years now. So I feel like I've changed a lot in that time, but yeah, I mean, I'm always learning just from like the people that I'm working. Learn a lot from the people I'm working with, like on so many levels, but um, just like seeing how they handle their lives and handle whatever they're going through, and also like what they've tried, and um just how they respond, all the things, but um and then just continuing just like learn through education, and then like I just like also doing more and more like self-care, self-healing, um just doing those things that you have to like stay with.
so what are some of your your practices of self-care and self-healing? What are some of the regular practices that you have that you do?
Yeah, I do just like self-healing, like I'll do like energy work on myself regularly, and meditate when I can. I'm kind of like if I sit or lay down and try to meditate, I usually fall asleep. So I try to do like a little bit more movements based, like qigong, um or like just walking, like sort of doing walking meditations.
Yeah.
Uh, I do one of my teachers for the like energy work taught us like a lot of their families like cleanses, and like limpias. They're from Cuba, and her family do a lot of like cleansing with like natural things, like and so do those kinds of things, just kind of just keep my energy clear, like, and intent, like with the intentions too of like releasing whatever. um it's not anything that's not serving me or whatever.
So seeing the difference between like what kind of energy you might not want to let into your self and other, just so that you're very clear about what's you and what's another person.
Yeah, or like, or maybe even what has been me, like, but not serving me anymore, just like could even be just that thing about like stories or survival skills or whatever. They're like, oh, don't need that anymore. Or just
Right.
like something I was something that got me frustrated or whatever, just trying to like let those things go.
Yeah, not ruminate about them.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I just kind of, just try to like keep it regular, like a regular practice. And then like before I go into work, like before I start, just trying to make sure I'm grounded. Like I just kind of with mostly visualization that I try to do. I feel like ground myself, try to clear my energy, try to like clear the space, and then like try to bring in like positive healing energy.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then trying to get good sleep, things
Yeah.
things like that.
What have
Eat
you
a lot of
seen that people
seafood.
have needed more from you in the last few years?
Yeah, it's I don't know if I have like a great um control group kind of a gauge because I moved within like halfway through those, what I like moved 2 years ago. And there's so much, so I don't have, not that I was necessarily seeing the same people through that time and then I was in Minneapolis like sort of 4 years ago, and then now I'm here on the East Coast, Massachusetts. And the energy, like the I don't know what people seem to be needing or coming to me for is like different. Um, so, but I would say like people are dealing with a lot. Um, like I don't know, emotionally, physically, like lots of stress, lots of things changing in the world, and just trying to in their lives. So yeah, I think a lot more like just feels like a lot more like complicated um issues like popping up for people.
Like
Um
emotional issues, like society changing issues.
yeah, but I think like layered on with whatever else is going on in their lives, like physical stuff, family. I mean, it just feels like I just feel for people there's a lot going on, a lot to deal with. So it's just like
Yeah, so
whatever.
you're not only dealing with like, hey, someone's coming to you for whatever might be the reason, like their
Hmm.
stomach's bothering, they're having headaches, whatever it might be. But then you're hearing all these stressors too, like layers of stressors.
Yeah, yep, yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, just like it seems to be, I don't know, I guess my hope is just like to like, just take, you know, try to alleviate some of that, whether it's like
Right.
physical or
Right, because
emotional.
our physicality is so affected by our stress levels,
Yeah, yeah,
our sense of well-being,
yeah,
our physical health.
for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have, yeah, those are my thoughts so far.
Yeah. Is there
I'm
anything else
curious
you
what
want
you've
to?
noticed.
Oh, what I've noticed as a therapist, I think people are definitely struggling with change. I think, we all are. I mean, even as practitioners, we're all like, okay, doing our job a little bit differently. I'm sure,
Mhm.
I don't know if how much you were working during COVID, but I think that was a hugely demanding time for people that
Yeah,
did mental health.
yeah,
Uh, and and I think, there's still how much more complicated the world is now. I mean, we're all I don't know about you, but I feel like, technically I can feel like, okay, yeah, I'm doing okay. And then I have to get a new iPhone and I don't know even how to turn it on, basically, so I'm back to that.
yeah,
And I think that just having that as like, maybe I might not know how to do the things that make me function as a healer or as a clinician is challenging. It's such an insecurity showing up,
mhm, yeah,
Um, so I think that's one of the things that I've noticed is if I'm feeling that, I know people in my world are constantly having to make sure that they download their newest what is it called, platform in their mind so they can keep going, right? And stay
yeah.
with it. I remember I met someone a long time ago who just refused to like go into the computer age,
Oh
and
yeah.
And he basically said like that was him. He didn't realize how much of a statement he was making, but that was basically him not being able to be the professor that he was, you know,
Oh,
because
yeah.
he just didn't keep up with the time,
Hmm.
and this
Yeah.
change. And now I feel like, yeah, that's one thing, but now I feel like there's such a change and it's going so fast. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see that like busy, I know my head sometimes is spinning with new information, and I think that makes people's stress even higher,
Mhm.
you know. So I see that the information overload and the way that we're all so plugged in, and
Yeah.
it's hard not to be, it's like an addiction. It's almost like an accepted addiction in a way.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's like, knowing what's happening all over the world, like everywhere all at once, like,
Yeah, too much
yeah.
information, like
Yeah.
all at once. So I think we need those techniques that like help us empty our brains, help us empty and just be able to be in those peaceful moments of like simplicity, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I think we're getting more almost like as a society, more ADD, as a
Yeah.
society because we're too overstimulated. So, I mean, just saying all of that, but that's kind of what we've been talking about, like nervous system, override, you know,
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
sit still? How do you take care of yourself and all of it? And I think some of it is, these are the things that you can do, right? You can do your own energy work, simple stuff.
Mhm.
Qigong, I'm sure you could tell us like a super simple Qigong exercise that would help clear your brain. I mean, if anyone's ever done Qigong, I did it like on a YouTube video a few times and I was like, wow, this is super effective. I haven't
Yeah.
studied it, but
Yeah. Yeah. One of the like basic ones that I love is just like called shaking qigong, and you just kind of like it is exactly like what it's called, so you just kind of stand there and sort of imagine yourself kind of grounding into the earth, and then just kind of start like shaking
take as much of your body
shake,
as you
yeah,
can.
and you're
Yeah.
just kind of thinking about like you can shaking off whatever you don't need, and then just kind of and then you can do it with your arms up. And it's good. It's great. Gets your lymphatic system moving, kind of
Uh-huh.
your nervous system. Yeah, it's really good. And then,
Yeah, and I also think of that one that you just said, like imagining if you feel like you have a part of your body that's hurting, like even just putting your hands on your back, like doing that, like just supporting your adrenals and your kidneys just for a minute, like just
yeah,
just placing hands,
yeah,
on your body. I think that's another one.
yeah. The other thing I do find myself doing sometimes is like that nervous, or what's it called? Vagus nerve breathing, where you like breathe in for like, I always get the numbers wrong. Breathe in for 6 seconds, breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for six. No, get the numbers wrong. But
That's okay. Do it. Just
slowing it
do
down.
it with us for a second.
Yeah, so you just kind of like breathe in for 6 seconds, hold it for five, and then release it for seven. And then doing at least 3 rounds of that tends to like kind of slow me down enough, which I really love that one because you can do like you don't have to do it as exaggerated as I just did, but you can be doing it while you're talking to people and they don't even notice. And it's just kind of like,
Right. It's
you
also
know,
one of those breaths that like you can't think about anything else when you're doing it. Like you
yeah,
cannot those things that you can do that keep you in the present moment. Like you cannot think of like, okay, this is what I'm having for dinner or what I have to buy at the store. Like you cannot hold those thoughts, those
yeah,
overstimulating thoughts.
yeah.
Well, that's a great one. So breath work is huge, right? A huge part of just being able to ground yourself.
Yes, for sure. When you were just talking, it reminded me of like a conflict resolution mediation thing that I went to once.
Mhm.
Um, it was during the uprising in Minneapolis after George Floyd was murdered. And one of the first things that I thought I didn't know what we were going to be talking about, but one of the first things they did was just to like have people breathe, and like when you're getting into like a really intense, or if you're trying to intervene intense situation, like to all this stuff like mindfulness of like breathing and like even feeling like the air in your nostril, like very specific. And I was like, oh wow, that's, yeah, that's great. to have people do. Is you really just have to calm yourself down in any kind of situation like that. Just
Yeah,
let
it's
them.
kind of like creating that pause. And I like how they did that at that event, like just like everyone stop and breathe for a second. Cause like let's be in our bodies, right? Not just like racing and upset in our minds about what's happened.
Yeah,
Different, totally different way of showing up, right?
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I wonder if there's just some other thought that you could end this conversation that we've been having. Just something that you feel like is maybe the maybe the best thing that you've learned since you've been an acupuncturist. That's a huge question, right?
Oh
What's the
my
best
gosh.
thing that you've learned since you've been?
Um, I mean, I think, yeah, just that our bodies are so brilliant. They're so capable of healing themselves, and if we can just kind of like let them, or like find the right setting, whatever it is, to get back there.
Yeah, the body seeks to heal, right? It wants
Mhm.
to heal.
Yeah,
It is an amazing system.
yeah, it's incredible, and just just get a cut, like just the things that our bodies do and know to do, and just um and I know that it can go haywire for certain, in certain conditions, but just whatever you can, like, just that there are ways to like feel better or more in control. um yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a really great thought. And I always think about that other piece around my work is just like it's such an honor to sit with people,
Yeah,
to be in that position to listen, so I always feel like I felt like that with you when I met you, like, that a few people said this to me in the podcast series is like the light in me sees the light in you, like I felt so good about our connection and also just what you were able to kind of teach me in the time that I was working with you. So I think that's also the resonating gift of the healer and the person that's seeking to be healed, that,
yeah,
you know, the both sides of it. It's like an honor in both directions.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah,
thank you so much for taking the time.
yeah,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was fun talking to you.
Yeah, it's really fun.